Today we're going to be interviewing Frank Victoria. He has won 4 international film festivals for his controversial book that was adapted into a screenplay called The Founder's Plot. Now, before I interview Frank, I'd like you to take a look at his trailer for the project that has a 50,000 plus viewing audience on YouTube.
Did you know there's nothing in the Constitution that allows the Supreme Court to declare legislation unconstitutional? When the Supreme Court shoots down the California governor's tough immigration law, he ignores the ruling. For decades, the border has gone unchecked. With 11 million illegals currently in the country, it's time for tough immigration reform. Can the governor make a difference in one of the most liberal states in the country? Will Hispanics be legally welcomed back? Or will the new law cause civil chaos, protests, and riots? Stay tuned to find out.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Today we have a very special guest, Frank Victoria. And Frank has won multiple film festivals over the past couple years for his award-winning book, The Founder's Plot. It started out by winning the Beverly Hills Book Award, and then Frank adapted the book, and now he's gone on to win all these festivals. And I think the only thing holding him back from getting this made has been that COVID and our strike, but he is red hot on the market right now. So welcome, Frank, to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Barb. Glad to be here.
Now, Frank has a very extensive background in writing. So, Frank, tell us about your background in writing and how you got into writing books and how that took you over to writing screenplays.
I've been writing since I was, I graduated with a degree in journalism, and I was about 25 or 26 at the time. And then I started working for trade magazines, a variety of them. The last one, and probably the most prestigious, was I was editorial director of 3 magazines in the petroleum marketing industry. One of them, National Petroleum News, was the #1 trade magazine in that field. And I was editor there for 5 years. And then I moved into teaching, and I did that for 15 years. Then I retired. I started writing the book.
Now, what inspired you to write The Founder's Plot?
That was interesting because what happened was I read a book by a man named Mark Levin, and if you're not familiar with him, he's a radio and TV commentator and considered, generally speaking, to be a constitutional scholar. I read a book of his called Men in Black, and it's all about the Supreme Court, the kinds of decisions they've made, what was good about it or bad about it. Also, some insights into the Supreme Court justices, who were not exactly angels. Several of them were, involved in a variety of scandals. Anyway, that got me thinking about the Supreme Court judgments, and the idea popped into my head: what if initially it was the president, but then I decided on making it a governor who defied a Supreme Court order. The main character, Mike DeGrasso, newly elected governor of California, passes a tough immigration law, but the Supreme Court declares it unconstitutional, ignores the ruling. He's a tough guy. He's an Afghan war vet, decorated Afghan war veteran. He ignores the ruling and keeps enforcing the law. That's the basic storyline. There's a lot more to it.
It's a very, very timely and a very political hot potato.
It is. It's definitely a
controversial, but has that flair to get audiences talking. And I love the irony of your plot because you have not only a governor defying a Supreme Court ruling, but this is the governor of California, the most liberal state in the country.
Yeah, That's what almost makes it a fantasy.
No, well, it's definitely a contrast and adds a
Yeah.
lot of good plot irony to your story.
Yeah, there's more to it than that. I mean, that's the
Right.
basic storyline, but it's there's all kinds of things in it. There's blackmail, there's murder, there's an assassination attempt, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
Suicides, all that's in there. Also, there's a subplot which I really liked regarding two Mexican families who are affected very, very badly by the law, and what it does is give you another perspective from the illegal immigrant point of view,
Yes.
and they go through a number of travails, but eventually manage to get out of the country safely and move back to Mexico and start their own business. So there are a number of things to it that go beyond the basic storyline.
Right. So it touches upon that human story, the political
Yes,
story, the story of a man trying to, stay within the realms of his state, his country, and to change things in a positive light for all parties concerned. So it has the controversy, but yet the human story to it. Uh,
yes, there is, yes.
and it's definitely something that is right now for this time frame that we live in. Now I want to list the festivals that this has actually won because I just kind of generally went over that in the beginning. Let's see. Hopefully I don't miss any of them. It has won the Washington Film Festival. It was the winner. It was also the winner of the Santa Dev International Film Festival, the Rose International Film Festival, and the JAGA International Festival. So that is extraordinary. Now, have you had the opportunity? I know we've gone through COVID and the strikes and that. Have you had the opportunity to attend any of the festivals, or what has been the result of those festival wins?
Well, I have not attended any of them. I just submitted the script.
Okay.
Uh, and the script won the festival, won the awards. Um, I have not attended any festivals since for about maybe 4 or 5 years. I went to the Hollywood Pitch Fest about 5 years ago. It was when I came out to see you. And but that was about it. And I didn't care much for it. I didn't even pitch the script, to tell you the truth, because it was a cattle call. I mean, you had 8 lines of people, maybe 10, 15 people deep, waiting to make their pitch. I passed on it. Maybe I
Right.
shouldn't have, but I passed on it.
Yeah, that's a pitch festival. Film festival is a little different because everyone kind of mingles around. They talk to each other. You have tables. Now that's before COVID.
Yeah.
They're getting back to that now, but you have tables where you can sit down, you can talk to producers, agents, managers. So if you are a finalist, semifinalist, or a winner of a film festival, you want to attend if they have an award ceremony.
If there's another one, I'll do my best to make it to the festival itself.
Okay, so how do you see this? Tell me how you see this for your audience. Where do you see it going in terms of actors, and how do you uh and in terms of the audience, how do you see it being accepted for them?
Well, it would definitely ring true for conservatives, and because of the subject matter, with the border crisis being what it is now, that has everyone's attention. It is, I believe, it has replaced the economy as the number one issue politically.
Mhm.
So it would, I think, would attract audiences who are at least following to some degree the border crisis.
And so tell us a little bit more about the lead role, the protagonist. Tell us about why he decides to defy the Supreme Court.
What really got him involved in scrutinizing Supreme Court decisions was that his mother was being evicted by eminent domain from her neighborhood in Chicago, where she lived and raised Mike and his 2 brothers. She was being evicted, and their neighborhood residents filed suit against it. This was Chicago, so the outcome was already known. They were going to put up University of Illinois Chicago campus on a neighborhood which was predominantly Italian. And the residents filed suit against it. They lost, and so the case went to the Supreme Court. At least not in real life, but in the book.
Right.
It goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says it's okay for the eviction to take place. Well, that angered Mike tremendously because it affected his mother very badly. And so that started him to scrutinize these Supreme Court rulings. So when he became governor and passed that law and the Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional, he decided to just take a stand. Um, right now, as a matter of fact, you're going to relate to present day events. I mean, look what's going on with Governor Greg Abbott in Texas. He's defying federal law, and he's also in some ways defying the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court said that the federal government had a right to go in and take down that razor wire. There's those buoys on the Rio Grande River. So there's a connection, a real life connection to what's going on in the border right now.
Yeah, it's very, very, very timely. So tell me, Frank, you have an extensive background in writing. What is your process when you sit down to write a book or a screenplay? Do you outline? Do you do index cards? What's your process for writing?
I was what they call a seat of the pants writer. But about 3/4 of the way through the book, I realized I had to do some outlining because the chapters were not fitting together right. And it wasn't an extensive outline. It was just paper and pencil. And I, I put all the chapters in it and I rearranged the chapters and what have you. The next time I think I'll do an outline.
Okay, so let's talk about your other project, which was also, now you've won awards for this. It's called The Ultimate Bet. This is a lot different from The
Yeah.
Founder's Plot. The Founder's Plot is a political thriller. The Ultimate Bet is a horror type of screenplay. So it's very diverse genres. This one has also won some awards. But what was interesting about this one has a little bit of a twist because Frank has done something above and beyond what a lot of writers do. Not even with winning all the festivals, he has built an audience for his projects. Like, for example, The Founder's Plot has had over 50,000 views on YouTube. He created a little teaser trailer for it, as well as The Ultimate Bet. So in addition to his festival wins, he has that proven built-in audience, which is very attractive to producers. And one of the things that Frank did, which is a marketing genius move on Frank's part, is he took The Ultimate Bet when he entered some contests and he actually entered the trailer for that he created to build his audience in the contest. Because remember, they accept short films. Anywhere from a minute on up on these festivals. And it won the JAGA International Film Award for The Ultimate Bet. So not only was his screenplay a winner, but his trailer was a winner. Now let's take a look at Frank Victoria's award-winning trailer for The Ultimate Bet.
He was born with cards in his hands. It wasn't about the money. Gambling was a fix, so I waited until he lost, until the thrill was gone. I offered him the ultimate bet, eternal life, or lose his soul. He asked who I thought I was, the devil. He grew up playing cards in basements, playgrounds, picnic tables, everywhere and at every opportunity. He couldn't get enough. One day he met a devious kid who challenged him to push the edge. The kid saw an opportunity to partner up and cheat, but the gambler refused. So, the kid stole his girlfriend. The gambler grew up, but he still faced temptation, this time to kill. A heartless, cruel commanding officer ordered him to send anyone to hell who wouldn't tell him what he wanted to know. Even under threat of court-martial, the gambler refused. His wife never suspected he was having an affair. His mistress was beautiful, sensual. He couldn't refuse, or so I thought. He finally lost in love and in gambling, and the excitement was gone. That's when he accepted my bet. The game was on. He thinks he won, but what he didn't realize is that he was playing the game all along. It was me all along. No one escapes the devil.
Well, The Ultimate Bet, I'm not altogether sure where I got the idea from, but I remembered reading The Devil and Daniel Webster years and years and years ago, and it popped into my head again, and I thought, well, why not create a situation where a man is challenged by the devil to play a poker game, and the stakes would be if he loses, he spends his eternity in hell, and if he wins, he gets eternal youth. Now, this is a guy, his name is Jim Stedman. He's the lead character. He is a multi-billionaire, self-made multi-billionaire. But despite all his wealth and everything, all the things he can afford to do, he's lost his zest for life. And gambling was his only outlet to gain some excitement. And then that was fading too. And that's where the devil approaches him. He sees him first at a cocktail lounge staring at him. And when he goes to confront him, he's gone. But then the next night he gets a phone call from the devil, and he proposes this bet to him. And at first, Jim Stedman, scoffs at the offer. But eventually, because of a number of incidents that could only be supernatural in nature, makes him believe that the devil is actually, he really is the devil. His name is Ignis Gennaro Ignis, which in Latin, if I recall, was something like fire starter, something to that effect.
Little hint there, hint, yeah.
Yes, if you look it up, yeah, it has something to do with fire. At the end of the game, it turns out that the devil has been coming after Jim for quite some time. When he was in high school, there was a guy named Danny, a kid his age, who wanted Jim to cheat with him at poker, and Jim wouldn't do it. So he retaliated by stealing his girlfriend. And then Jim was in Vietnam, and there was a Captain Vincent Calor. And by the way, Calor means something like evil, I think, in Latin. Anyway, he wanted him to kill some innocent unarmed prisoners or innocent civilians, and Jim wouldn't do it. And then later on in life, Jim meets a woman named Carlotta Nguyen, who is a voluptuous woman who almost gets Jim to leave his wife, divorce his wife, and marry her. Now, as it turns out, at the very end, we find out that all of these people that confronted Jim or caused him some concerns or disdain, they were all the devil that he ran into before. He was Danny, he was Captain Calor, and he was Carlotta Nguyen. He is not what you would imagine the devil would be. He's well groomed, he's well dressed, he's polite and respectful. He keeps referring to the lead character, Jim Stedman, as Mr. Stedman. And he is not what he's different than what the devil, the stereotypical devil, would be like. He's very well dressed and he's very polite.
Yeah, I don't even know where we got that stereotype from, because if you actually read the biblical thing about Lucifer, he was considered one of the most beautiful angels in all the Bible. So I mean, I think in real life, he probably would indeed be that charming, attractive type of individual that you have in the screenplay. So Frank, tell me what advice you would give to writers, especially those just starting out. What would you tell them?
I'd tell them to hire you, for one thing.
Oh, thank you.
Or someone like you. I think you know what I'm talking about. You need another set of eyes on your script, and
of course,
maybe 2 or 3 or 4 sets of eyes. Read books on screenwriting. You have a number of really good books that have been very valuable to me. I would also recommend something like The Screenwriter's Bible by Trottier. And then a good one too is Save the Cat by Blake Snyder.
Do you write every day, Frank, or what has been your process for writing?
I write every day.
What is your any final words to any producers watching this video? What would you like to say to them now?
I'd like to say I have what I think are 2 very viable scripts that would have that would interest audiences. The Founder's Plot, as I mentioned earlier, would definitely draw conservative people. The Ultimate Bet, that would appeal to almost anyone. because there's a certain irony involved. There's that twist at the end. By the way, there's an interesting twist at the end of the Founder's Plot, where
Big twist.
a big twist at the end of the Founder's Plot. It's a very revealing twist at the end. And I dropped hints along the line of what's going to happen. So at the end, I think the reader would say, or the audience would go, "Oh, aha, now I got it. I see why this happened and that happened." Yeah.
Frank, I thank you for being with us today, and we wish you well on your projects. And thank you again.
All right, my pleasure, Barb. Good to see you.